Halo Infinite's gotta be good, like Halo 5's marketing good. Today we're gonna go over 7 things that I think need to happen in Halo Infinite's story for it to be a great story that makes sense, builds upon existing tension, and has an epic climax that none of us could predict. Which, as we'll discuss today, could include Chief's true humanity, his secret foreigner powers, the Infinity being subdued by UNSC forces that had surrendered to Cortana, Mendicant Bias' main core on Zeta Halo being unearthed by Chief and a monitor, the Flood's role, and much more. It's gonna be a fun one, guys. Let's go ahead and get into it. This video was supported by Audible. Don't miss out on their offer for all Halo followers. Get a free Halo ebook, link down in the description. At number 7, Chief's humanity needs to be addressed. Now, as I've discussed many times before, which I won't go into full detail, Chief does hold ancient ties with the Isodidact, the foreigner that fired the Halo arrays 100,000 years ago, sharing the same Gias by the Librarian. And despite this foreshadowing in even Halo 1, all the way up to even Halo 4, we really don't have much understanding of what they're gonna do with this plot point. Remember in Halo 4, there was those whole drama parts of who is a machine, Chief or Cortana?
Before this is all over, promise me you'll figure out which one of us is the machine.
So where's that conclusion? Who is really behind that mask, and how does he feel about all this, and what's happened so far? I feel like this is an incredibly important question to ask and to answer in a Halo game because it has so much to do with Chief's evolving character arc and us as observers. Yet it didn't receive much attention, if any, in Halo 5. So I really hope that this plot point isn't abandoned because it just makes so much sense. I would say it isn't because Halo Infinite is already confirmed to feature Chief as the primary protagonist, giving him much more room than before to have human drama and inner turmoil without Locke getting in the way. The humanity plot point is relevant because it is extremely relatable and about what it means to be a human through trial, error, grief, etc. Especially for soldiers all around the world, I'm sure can relate on a different level entirely. This connection here, what it means to be a human though, is our portal to many to living and breathing inside Halo's universe. Master Chief is such a badass, designed to be a walking tank, destroying millions of Covenant soldiers, yet they pull us right back to the reality of John, him being a human, giving us a reason why we should care about him, something that they just did not do with Locke. You know, seeing that John is no different than you or me. I mean, that's just so damn epic on an entirely different level, on an emotional level, and it's just awesome, in my opinion, anyway. This plot point has got to be addressed in Halo Infinite if they want to capture Chief's turmoil and drama, and they could easily do that with the conflict with Cortana, someone that has basically betrayed him and all of his friends and everything that he's worked for, as well as Dr. Halsey, basically you could say his mother, and Blue Team, all being very important to John, his family, right? So this could be perfect opportunity for John to express his humanity. At number 6, Master Chief's secret foreigner abilities. That needs to be addressed if that's what they are. Now I talked about this recently as well because it could be an extremely important thing to the plot overall, but that was more or less ignored in Halo 5, so maybe I'm wrong about that. Anyway, in Halo 4, Master Chief would encounter the Librarian in what seems to be the domain. Maybe, not super relevant. Anyway, he's given, quote, many gifts. One of these gifts would soon save him from being composed by the Didact's Promethean converting weapon, the Composer. You know, real quick, Cortana is actually extremely special as an AI because she's been in direct contact with so much foreigner artifacts and technology. It only makes sense that our Spartan Master Chief here, who's been a pioneer in a lot of foreigner things, has some kind of physical or mental change, and especially unlike Cortana, there was a foreigner that set out to make Master Chief special, to give him many gifts. Now, as hinted, Chief now has the ability to access the domain telepathically, as he did in Halo 5. And of course, this makes it super easy because it's not like Chief can just get a phone call from Cortana. This kind of sets up a communication between the two in Halo Infinite moving forward with this newfound ability, and I can't wait to see how Master Chief might explore this ability accessing the domain on the go. Master Chief's mini gifts may include anything from constraint fields, which is basically the Force, although that might actually just be a armor thing with Foreigner stuff. But maybe the Librarian changed Master Chief's armor somehow? I don't know, they're foreigners, they can do anything. Superior cognitive features may also have affected Chief, making him even faster and smarter, and his evolution as a human overall has been advanced tremendously in ways we just don't fully understand yet. So yeah, the Librarian's gift needs to be explained a little bit more. What is the full consequences of her many gifts here? Next up, you're probably sick of hearing his name as much as I am, but at number 5, Mendicant Bias's plot needs to be finally addressed once and for all. Quick recap, if you don't know, this AI has always been in the shadows lurking behind the Halo story, even now more than ever, right? So he was a foreigner in Cilia, and 100,000 years ago during the Foreigner days, he betrayed his masters and joined the Flood and Gravemind, convinced that the Gravemind was right when he said that the Flood would be the next evolutionary step, and that the Foreigners were ignorant for not just, being infected. And eventually, he was defeated by the Foreigners. He was taken apart in different shards and pieces and buried around the galaxy at different Foreigner installations and whatnot. Though his primary construct, his main personality, if you will, was placed on this ring in Halo Infinite, and it's still there, just under the surface somewhere. This AI, he has been hinted all the way back since Halo 2, where his voice was actually hidden in a soundtrack when reversed, and he said some creepy stuff, which I've already talked about many times before, you can look it up. But then Mendicant tried to speak to Chief through Halo 3 terminals, telling him he regretted betraying his masters, the Foreigners, then potentially splitting the portal that sent Chief intentionally to Requiem to make up for his sins, to begin the reclamation. However, I do not think that Mendicant predicted that Cortana would be in charge of the domain, whereas he was trying to put Chief in the domain instead, which it seems like he was successful because Chief can telepathically go there. Well, anyway, Mendicant would be a great ally for Chief because he not only has extensive experience on defeating the Flood, but also he was exactly where Cortana was. He was working for his masters, and then he was convinced by a logic plague, and that's very likely what happened to Cortana because she was left on high charity and harassed and manipulated by the Gravemind for almost a month straight, and this sort of kicked off her rampancy beginning in Halo 3. Mendicant also has great experience at warfare and strategy fighting other AI, so Mendicant could easily help Chief and humanity overall, since he wants to help so bad anyway. It just makes so much sense. The 2013 Halo trailer is still completely unexplained in its relevancy towards the plot today that we have, the story with Halo 4 and 5. It doesn't fit anywhere. It doesn't even look close to anything else that we've seen. Why is Chief in a cloak? Why is he going up to this mysterious thing? Well, here's my theory about this. I think that Chief is on Zeta Halo, and he's hiding from Cortana's forces and the New Covenant, we'll call it, on Zeta Halo. He finds an ancient human cloak, and he finds Mendicant's core with the help of a monitor that awakens him. Now, this could be incredibly epic, especially since Mendicant, now released, could easily go toe-to-toe with Cortana by uprising some deadly war machines, not to mention whatever War Sphinx or even Guardian Mendicant's personality construct has been uploaded to. At number 4, Dr. Halsey and Master Chief's connection needs to finally be brought and expressed into a Halo game. So far, we just have not had any real connection between these two characters, yet their connection and relationship is so relevant in the Halo books, yet it's just not in the damn games. Why not? It makes more sense for their connection to be thrown into this game now more than ever, and I'll tell you why. Dr. Halsey was the person that saw John only when he was 6 years old. She predicted that he would become a powerful Spartan, and then he was adopted by Oni. She would go on to have a very special relationship with John, something resembling a mother-son connection that seems pretty mutual. Besides Blue Team, his family, and Cortana, his companion, I think that Dr. Halsey is the most important person to John, I think. She's been mentioned, interrogated about Chief, upset that she was never told that he was found alive after Halo 3's ending, where he was stuck in cryo for 4 years, set adrift in space. And then there was all the drama that happened in Spartanops, but there was never really them meeting, right? It was in Halo 5 that Dr. Halsey would be concerned about Cortana's newfound abilities within the Foreigner domain, and by the end of Halo 5 would meet with the Chief. In Halo Bad Blood, picking up after Halo 5's last moments, it's described that Chief and Halsey would briefly talk privately amongst themselves. But about what? Probably nothing too relevant, but it doesn't say, so we really don't know here anyway. But what I do think is relevant to mention is that Master Chief has now lost Cortana, his companion, the same AI Dr. Halsey's brain tissue was created from. Basically, Dr. Halsey is Cortana. She's the mother and creator of Cortana, and funny thing, by the way, Cortana now hates Dr. Halsey. Basically, Dr. Halsey is Cortana's mother at the same time is her. And I think us bonding with Dr. Halsey would be a very humbling transition from Cortana becoming our companion to being the bad guy, and now us kind of retreating to Dr. Halsey. I think with Dr. Halsey, there is a huge opportunity that cannot be missed to develop between Chief and her. Or God forbid, we try to save Dr. Halsey and watch her die from Cortana. There's a lot of routes that 343 could go with this plot, that's just one idea I had, but the ending of Halo 5 really makes me think they're gonna use Dr. Halsey for something in Halo Infinite and something big. And the likelihood of that is pretty high because Dr. Halsey and Master Chief are stranded on the same ship, the Infinity. At number 3, this will probably be one of the most obvious ones here, but I had to say it, which is addressing the cliffhanger. So we got a few questions here. First, the Cortana's created, right? What's up with them and who's really joined them? And the second is the effects and the damage of the EMPs that Cortana has spread around the galaxy, right? And who has benefited from Cortana becoming in charge, right? Such as the Ungoi, who has joined and their civilization is just booming right now. And 3, how will the good guys fight back? So all these questions need to be answered. Cortana suggested everlasting life to all AIs, whereas human AIs, more or less, if you don't know, go crazy after 7 years, then die to information overload. That's called rampancy. Cortana claims that the domain is a cure to this, as she is living proof. Hundreds of AIs, from prisons to city grids, defense grids and systems, and even UNSC warships, of course, have been compromised by smart AIs shutting down systems and waiting for further instruction from Cortana. Now, what is going to be fun is to see how 343 Industries makes this a huge problem for humanity and the good guys and even other species, and how they may join forces to fight back, which leads us to our third question: how will humanity fight back? In Halo Bad Blood and Loot Crate, it's already confirmed after Halo 5, the Infinity would go on search for vital resources and important people to help fight against Cortana, and they would eventually encounter a rebel colony that had a perfect cloaking device. Although it was soon compromised by Cortana, the scientists studying it did survive Cortana's attack, and maybe they might be able to replicate the technology. And it's not really a way to fight back, but this does suggest that the Infinity is having some luck here, and that may be why we're on Zeta Halo, and it's addressing that very big question. How do we fight back against what is at this moment basically a god? Now Cortana in control of all Foreigner tech. Well, whatever they decide to do with the story, I am confident that this will be addressed in some way or another. Now, number 2, and of course, another thing that needs to be addressed is the Flood. With more and more desire for the Flood to return, especially with Halo Wars 2's Awakening the Nightmare DLC, 343 knows we want the Flood, and I do believe that the Flood will play some role in Halo Infinite. And as I've discussed before, may be the only thing that actually can stop Cortana at this point. Anywho, to think that the Flood may be returning in Halo Infinite's art style along with new gameplay mechanics, including new Flood forms, is beyond exciting to see how that plays out. Now, we saw new forms attack vehicles in Halo Wars 2, some that even took flight that looked like penises, if I'm being honest, and my favorite is Bungie's Juggernaut. now known as the Abomination, originally from Halo 2 but was cut. This guy may be the biggest threat of all the Flood form. Honestly, it's pretty hard to speculate as to the Abomination being a very fast, athletic, maybe weaker enemy, or a very slow, almost like a mini boss enemy, because in Halo Wars 2 in the gameplay they were very slow and strong, but in the cutscenes we get something very different. And I'm very excited to see what 343 Industries decides to use these guys with in the gameplay. So moving on, we may see Cortana's warriors, the Prometheans, and maybe even the new Covenant, the Covenant that follows her, fight the Flood in front of our very eyes, which, you know, the Prometheans were designed for in the first place anyway. The main thing I am looking forward to is how the Flood and the Gravemind will play out in the story and the grand scheme of things. I mean, I am so hyped to see the next Gravemind not only successfully form on Zeta Halo, since there's several proto-Graveminds already in storage from the Forerunner days, but to encounter Chief again, the memories of the last ones, and admit that he tricked Cortana with the Logic Plague, or even side with the UNSC and others to defeat her, may be a very interesting twist. But regardless, the Flood needs to be addressed because they have broken free on the Ark. And lastly, at number 1, speaking of twist, we need a big one in Halo Infinite. Any great story has a big twist, something that no one could really predict or see coming. Something that makes players, once the twist takes place, feel a real feeling, an emotion of anxiety and threat. Unlike in Halo 4, the Didax Composer was much less terrifying than the unstoppable Covenant glassing entire populations like Reach in mere weeks. We need that feeling of a real threat again, something that could really fuck shit up. For example, a combination of Cortana and the Flood. But again, we need a twist with those things, something that we just cannot even predict here. In Halo 1, it turned out that the ring itself was actually a weapon of mass destruction used to destroy the Flood, but also life in the galaxy. That was terrifying. In Halo 2, one of the Covenant's greatest commanders that has killed off a fraction of humanity in the war, realizes this truth and betrays the Covenant, killing the leaders, and starts with the destruction of the Covenant, and directly works with humanity's hero. It's a complete 180, something that maybe in Halo 1 we would never be able to see happen. And in Halo 4, although it leads up to it, it still threw fans off to actually see one of our favorite characters die, Cortana. Now, that's what I'm talking about when I say that Halo Infinite needs a twist. Now, I would say there are more possibilities for twists now than ever because they've set a lot of things up, you know, with the galaxy being in turmoil and whatnot. Now, if we put it in the context or speculation of a 180-degree plot twist, here are some off-the-cuff ideas I have. Humanity actually loses the war with the created. They surrender. Or the Infinity is actually destroyed. It blows up. Maybe our heroes and our cast of characters gets off in time, but the Infinity could be destroyed, which is the only thing that's really holding humanity together at this point. Master Chief could also actually die, or at least trick us into thinking he actually dies. Or Cortana is being manipulated by the Gravemind in much different ways than we could have ever expected. Maybe the precursors make a return. The Flood, perhaps, takes over Earth successfully in other human colonies. Maybe the Covenant is resurrected. Maybe the Covenant somehow gets into the domain and replaces Cortana, and now has foreigner ships. We could see also another attempt at humanity betraying Chief or hunting him down for Cortana. And maybe he is actually successfully detained by the UNSC. Then the Infinity has to go back and save him. Or maybe reverse, where Chief has to fight through UNSC forces that have surrendered to Cortana, that have captured the Infinity and its crew, and Chief this time has to save Locke and the crew, including Dr. Halsey and Blue Team. Now that would put us into the fear mode, right? Like, oh, this is an actual threat. Now, obviously, some of those ideas could be called stupid or just unfeasible, but I'm just trying to throw out some ideas so you guys have something to think of and to work with your own speculation. So if you guys want to learn more about what happens after Halo 5, I recommend using Audible's free trial and getting Halo Bad Blood's audiobook, which has lots of details about the Infinity, Cortana's forces, a secret device that may turn the tide of the war, the cloaking device we talked about. Sign up, link down in the description. So what do you guys think is going to happen in Halo Infinite? What kind of plot twist would you like to see? And what do you think needs to happen in Halo Infinite for it to be a great Halo story? Let me know down in the comments below your theories, thoughts, and speculation. I want to hear it. I might throw it up in a future video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you ended up enjoying, and I'll catch you in the next one. This has been Ron. Later, guys.